this, what I did here is I restored everything back to the August 6th. You can see that little line there. It points to the August 6th checkpoint. August, jeez. November, oof, wish it was August. And November 6th. Okay, there we go. So what I've done is I've just really kept this simple. Uh, I've got Web 1 here, and I have Web 2 here. I have the same website running. I have on Web 2, you have to have static IPs assigned. So I have that. Okay, it's 207. And then 201, you have to have static IPs assigned. This only has one NIC. Okay. And we'll go look at that. So that's 201. Okay, and then the DNS server is my AD server, my Active Directory server. That's this guy right here. So static IPs, you can't do this without static IPs. Now the next thing you do is on your Active Directory server, or whatever server is going to be running, your, here it is, your load balancer administrator, and that's this guy. This is, I call it administrator because that's what we do with SQL Server Administrator. So network load balancing manager, okay. This is different than cluster managers. This is just network load balancing. So we're not doing a cluster here, we're doing just load balancing. So in order to get this interface here, you need to just install the Windows feature rsat-nlb. Done. The next thing you do is you jump out to your web servers and you just run wait a minute, I'm in AD here. I meant to be here. You have to run this. Install Windows features, just NLB. This just does the binaries for the network load balancer. There's no manage, you can't manage a load balancer from this server. And then here, this is Web 2. Okay. Oh, guess you want to maximize. That's fine. We can do that. And then here you got to install Windows feature NLB. Alright. So that's the Web 2. The next thing you do after you've installed all the binaries on your AD, your Web 1, your Web 2, after you do that, you jump into here. And you're going to create a new cluster. Okay? And then you're going to put in the IP address, and you're going to assign it a new IP address, 208. So I just took the IP. Well, I looked at DNS and I said, okay, what do I have free? And it's 208. It seems to be free. So let's do a sort. So if you look at that, you got 208 free. So that's what I'm going to label this as. And the first thing you do when you add host to cluster is you just type in the first server name in your load balancing. I call it a cluster. It's not a cluster. Well, I guess it is. They call it a cluster. Never mind. You type in that and you say, okay, connect, and it's communicating. It's already part of a cluster, so that's this guy right here, and you give it Web 1, it figures out it's 201, and then you've already given the cluster IP. You select multicast when you're doing this. For the first server only, you just have to install multicast. And the port rules you just select all. It'll give you this. What are your port rules? Just select everything. Okay, and just hit OK. And then that should give you your first node in your cluster. So then when you go to add a host to cluster again, the only difference is you won't see. Here's where I'm doing Web 1. See how you got the IP there? Okay. Okay. So then this is when you're in the wizard. This is where you're assigning that should be 208, not 108. I did that one wrong when I took that screenshot. You have to rebuild your cluster. At least I did. So anyway, and then multicast, and then your port rules and things like that. And what that does is it's going to, well, when you installed NLB on your host, not like Web 1, Web 2, it creates this network load balancing in the properties. So let's go to Web 1. It installs this, but it's unchecked. It only gets checked, and that's all it does is it checks it. It only gets checked when you set up your cluster and it communicates with the cluster. It says, okay, you're part of this cluster. So the other thing it does when you add this node to the cluster, everything's the same, nothing changes here. It adds an IP address to your IP addresses settings. So that is the IP address of your cluster. Okay. Everything else, DNS, everything else is the same. It just does those two things. It checks this, and it adds the IP to the IP list. So that is what it does, and I'll show it to you on Web 2 as well. It also, when you add the node to cluster, it'll give you the name of the Ethernet device, the NIC card, network interface card. So in this case, it gave me a choice of 2, and I selected this one because that's what's part of my company.pri. So then this was unchecked until I added Web 2. Then it checked it, and then if you go here, and then here, there's 208. So that is how you create a network load balancer. Now, given all that, what you're going to do here is I'm going to fire up Internet Explorer. Okay. Alright, and then 192.168.0.108. Port 80, we're just doing everything on port 80 right now. Okay, maybe not. Not sure what happened there. But let's try it. I'm a Chrome guy. I've always been a Chrome guy, so I think Chrome is on Web 1. It's the one with the most RAM, using the most RAM. Web 1, okay. Web 1, there it is. Oh, there it is. Okay. So let's go to that cluster IP. I only have 16 gig of RAM on this laptop. 168.0.192.208. Okay. There it is. Okay, you see it says 208 in the server IP, right? Okay, 208 is the server IP. Server name is 208. Server IP. Now let's hit refresh. Okay, so nothing's changing. And then look at the path. It says sites default. So here, if we go and explore the sites default, so it's serving things up on the 208. Let's go back to AD. I'm curious why. Try it again. Oh, there it is. Okay. So there it is. I'm on the AD computer now. Now, INET pub default, if you look at there, it's actually getting the the content from this server instead. Okay, that's default INET pub default. Okay, so now let's go ahead and browse to 108 on this server. Okay, come on, babe. Alright, 208. Okay, INET pub default. Refresh, 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 refresh. Okay, it's not, nothing's changing there. Okay, so let's go back to Web 1. So it's getting it from the local server on 208. Let's go back to Active Directory. It's Web 2 there now. So it's still getting served from Web 2. Now here's what we do. We pause Web 2. Okay? Right click on Web 2 in Hyper-V and just hit pause. Okay, it's paused. Now, let's go make sure Web 1 is working. Okay, Web 1 still works on 208. Now let's see if this works. Oh, now we've got sites default, which sites default is Web 1. So now everything's being served from Web 1. Now let's unpause. Let's resume this guy. Okay, we'll head back to AD. It's unpaused. Sites default. Is it going to? It probably has like a sticky bit once you start serving from one site. Let's go back to Web 2. And round robin. Once you're getting your pages from one server, it'll stay on that server. So INET pub, so it's local. It's 208. Let's check Web 1. Let's site's default. See, that's the server. And then this server was INET pub default. INET sites default. Now we're going to pause this guy, Web 1. Okay, let's go back to Web 1. That says it's paused. Okay, paused. INET pub default saying I'm getting it from you, from this server, so that's fine. Now let's go back to the Active Directory computer. Now it's getting it from Web 2. INET pub default Web 2. Right here is INET pub default. So that's how you set up a network load balancer and do some testing. So I want to end this video here, and then we'll get into the application request routing after this. Thanks all.